All right, here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Hope you guys are having a great Friday so far. I see a couple new faces in here, so it's great to see you guys and come and support our guests today. So, for those of you that don't know, my name is Wes Van Epps. I'm an outreach specialist here at Wisconsin Voices for Recovery, and I'm also joined here today by my coworker Jessica Geschke. So, we're super excited to have our guest today. For those that have not been a part of our live Q&As in the past, feel free to type in anything in the chat, any questions, comments. There will be some time to address those. And then for you to also come on camera here and ask yourself at the end if you have any questions for our guests. So like I said, this is just a great opportunity that we've been hosting here at Wisconsin Voices for Recovery since the beginning of April, just bringing on recovery advocates across the state and the nation, talking about the work that they've been able to do and that they continue to do to support those in recovery. So it's just a great way to stay connected during this time and just to talk and bring light certain topics that need to be talked about. So again, thank you for joining us today. Our guest today is actually Patti Lomas. So Patti, welcome. So Patti, I'm just going to go through quick and introduce yourself, and then we'll get started. So Patti has been advocating for prevention, education, and family support in the regards to the disease of addiction for the past 8 years, since her son CJ died of a heroin overdose in their home in 2012. So she is the co-founder of the CJ Lomas Recovery Foundation, a nonprofit 501c3 organization dedicated to assisting individuals in their recovery program, as well as providing support for friends and families touched by addiction. She has assisted in a special project educating physicians at Frederick Hospital on the dangers of overprescribing opiates. She has spoken at numerous heroin summits. She serves on the West Milwaukee Heroin Task Force. Patti has participated in Milwaukee County's press conference in regards to the overdose rate in Milwaukee County. So Patti's hope is to educate individuals on the progression and dangers of drugs in an effort to reduce the amount of deaths caused by this disease, in hopes that another family does not have to bury their child like she did. So welcome, Patti. I know that you have a lot of great things to talk about today. I'm going to bring you on camera here now. And I think before, we really dive into some of the topics of discussion, would you just want to start out and talk a little bit about CJ's story?
I would love to. Thanks so much. Hi, everybody. Hi, Joanie. Hi, John. Thanks so much for having me, Jesse. I'm honored to be here and discuss CJ's addiction and ultimately how it affected our family and our life. So I guess what I'm going to do today is offer my personal perspective on how addiction can control, derail, and many times it can destroy a family. As we were navigating this, we found that there was absolutely no manual on how to navigate this journey, and we were uncertain where to turn next because, like I said, there was no roadmap. And I can remember instead there was just like this profound sense of helplessness and hopelessness. And also through it all, there was that stigma and shame. So a little bit about CJ's story. He was born on October 14th, 1985 in Buffalo, New York. And we were blessed to adopt him right out of the hospital. And then 2.5 years later, we were blessed again to adopt our second son, Christopher. So CJ was a son, he was a brother, a grandson, an uncle, a cousin, a nephew, and a really good friend. He was an incredible young man. He had a heart of gold, a smile that could light up the room. He was kind, generous. He had a great sense of humor and was absolutely just a joy to be around. He made a difference in so many people's lives. And like so many, he could solve everyone else's problems, but sadly, he couldn't solve his own. So as he grew up in a healthy, stable 2-parent household. I stayed at home because at that time I wanted to be the one that raised the boys and be the person who formed and molded their opinions and values in life. In school, he played every sport there was, basketball, baseball, soccer, golf. As a teenager, both of the boys' passion was snowcross racing. So in other words, he was encouraged to follow his dreams all the way through grade school, elementary school, middle school, high school. He went to a private elementary school. He went to St. Mary's in Hills Corners. And then he went to Whitnall High School. My husband is the oldest of 10, so we had a huge family that was around all the time. We celebrated Christmas, Thanksgiving, birthdays, every holiday as family. So throughout his whole life, he was surrounded by a very, very supportive, loving family who would do anything for him. And I know at the time, we felt that we were doing everything right, and ultimately it turned out so wrong. So CJ's addiction progressed throughout the years. In middle school is when he started drinking. He started smoking pot, and then actually obviously graduated to pills, I'm guessing around the age of 17. He started snorting Vicodin, Percocet, oxycodone, Oxycontin, actually anything that he could get his hands on. So when that was happening, by that time, his personality and his demeanor changed. He became very sneaky, distant. His grades declined. Everything that came out of his mouth was a lie. He told half-truths and pretty much secluded himself from all of our family gatherings. He would lie, cheat, manipulate anyone he could to get exactly what he wanted, and that was the pills. Eventually, one of the heartbreaking things was he has stole every single thing of value from our home. He stole from his friends, his family members of friends, as well as outside sources. And everything that came out of his mouth was a lie. The only thing that he cared about was how he was going to get his drugs. So as you can imagine, this was not the child that we had raised. This was not the fun-loving, caring, honest, sweet, hardworking son that we knew. Unfortunately, this was the drug addict that he had become. So when it became almost impossible for him to get the money that he needed for the pills, because we got a little bit smarter, and he could no longer lie, cheat, and manipulate us, that's when he resorted to heroin. Oh, excuse me. So for CJ, that was it. That was pretty much the beginning of the end for him. We spent the next 8 long years navigating his addiction through countless outpatient centers, outpatient programs. I think he was in 6 different sober living facilities. He went to inpatient treatment 3 times. He was in Hazleton twice and Nova once. There was an overwhelming amount of counseling. He spent some time in jail. He was on paper for quite some time. And all of this, not to mention the financial burden that it caused our family. So during this time, he lost everything. He lost his job. He lost his ironworkers apprenticeship that he worked so hard to get. He had a girlfriend he adored. He lost her. He lost his truck. He lost his driver's license, his apartment, his extended family. He lost his self-respect, his health. He ended up with hepatitis C. And on March 18, 2012, he paid the ultimate price and he lost his life. Christopher lost his big brother. We lost our oldest son. And on that day, a part of me died as well. Because I knew our life and our family would never be the same. So there's no hell quite like watching drugs change someone you love into someone you can't even recognize. At that point, we didn't even recognize that he was our son. So there's a tremendous amount of shame and guilt that I carry around with me every day. But I know for a fact that CJ carried around more shame and guilt than anyone in this room could ever imagine. He was ashamed he suffered from an addiction and he could not overcome it. It's impossible to comprehend and so very sad to imagine someone being ashamed of having a serious illness. Even though we talked or texted every day, I know that he was too ashamed to call me and say, "Mom, I'm struggling again. And I need your help." So now he's just a memory. So as the mom of a drug addict, there are many things I would obviously have changed. Knowing then what I know now, I would have made him accountable for his actions. We would not have chosen to bail him out of his legal issues because we had this false sense that we didn't want him to have a record. We would have treated his addiction like the life-threatening disease it truly is. So as I reconcile the fact that CJ's gone and there are so many that continue to struggle through the storm, it makes me so sad. And it reminds me that so many things need to change in an effort to save our children's lives. Addiction knows no socioeconomic, culture, or ethnic boundaries. It doesn't matter if you live in the inner cities or the most influential suburbs. It doesn't discriminate. It can show up in any family at any time. It showed up in ours. And when addiction does visit your family, something does die. Dreams die, hopes die, family members die a long, slow, emotional death from the need to hide the truth about what is happening in their family. And when families hide, people don't get well. People with the disease of addiction don't get well. So how do we, as a society, help shift this pattern? How do we help families impacted heal? We can do this through education, understanding, and a compassionate response to those suffering from the disease and to their families. Understanding addiction as a disease and not a moral failing is the beginning of healing. Those with the disease of addiction are not bad. They are simply not well. Treating the disease as a medical issue and not a criminal justice issue can significantly change outcomes of those seeking help and for families trying to support their loved ones. Understanding that in the disease, people aren't making criminal decisions because they are evil. They are making these decisions because they are life and death decisions, because they don't want to feel like they are going to die every morning when they wake up. Treating those affected with a humane response, offering help rather than punishment, and providing harm reduction options have been shown to change entire communities and decrease overdose deaths significantly. We need to see the people who are suffering from addiction for who they really are. There are sons and there are daughters, husbands and wives, moms and dads. There are friends, possibly our neighbors and coworkers. People who did not ask or want to become ill and who simply want and deserve our love and support on a journey to get better and living their lives. If we could all see addiction through these new lenses, it truly would change everything. And for these reasons, and to honor our son's memory, we formed the CJ Lomas Recovery Foundation. The goal of the foundation is to provide hope, possibilities, and treatment options. We assist individuals struggling with addiction through donations made to intense patient treatment centers, detox facilities, sober living houses, recovery organizations, as well as education and awareness. We do participate in local heroin and drug community summits. We speak to students at local schools on the dangers and progressions of drugs. We continue to raise awareness to this epidemic by partnering with other organizations with the same goals that we have. We often talk about the cost of addiction, the overdose rates, the toll on the criminal justice system, the strain on the emergency responders, the lack of effective treatment. But what we rarely get mentioned is the extreme burden addiction causes the family. The shame, the secrecy, and stigma of addiction in a family forces people into hiding. While their friends are thinking about what college their children are going to be attending, families impacted by addiction are wondering what treatment programs they might be able to get their child into. Or worse yet, is their child even going to be alive tomorrow to go to treatment? So in addition to forming the CJ Lomas Recovery Foundation, we've also formed a family and friends support group. This is a place where family members and loved ones can interact and share with others who may be experiencing the same concerns or be in similar situations. Our group meets every Tuesday night from 6:30 to 8:30. It is imperative that it is a place of non-judgmental, non-shaming, non-labeling, and supportive atmosphere. Right now, due to COVID-19, we are conducting our family support meetings on Zoom. So please reach out if any of you are interested. CJ did start taking these steps in his recovery program that unfortunately he was not able to complete. He thought it would be very helpful to have recovering addicts speak to families lost in his world of addiction, because he knew that we were that family, and he saw the ugliness of addiction and what it did to our family and wanted desperately to make a difference. We've been involved in family groups for years, and it's very helpful to know there is a support system out there for families and friends and loved ones of individuals that are still struggling with drugs and alcohol. Our goal in forming this group is to educate parents, family members, and significant others as where to draw that line between and the proper support. So every other Tuesday, we gather, we share, we support, we laugh, we cry, and we speak out about our loved ones that are affected by this horrible disease. So while we navigated CJ's addiction, we received an incredible education. And after he passed away, Charlie and I felt as though it would be so selfish if we didn't share that information with other families members living this nightmare. We have seen the look of terror on the faces that new parents who walk into our meetings, and we know exactly what they are going through. We feel so blessed to be in a position to give them 2 hours every other week where they know they are not alone. We are very fortunate to have the support of a highly qualified and licensed addiction counselor. She has graced us every single 2 weeks, every Tuesday. She attends and is present for her professional advice. We also are very blessed to have several individuals in long-term recovery that join us as well. And they enlighten us on their perspective, their struggles, their feelings of shame and guilt they carry with them, as well as providing a tremendous amount of hope to the families. So we started this foundation at the lowest point in our lives, and to think that it has brought us some of our most significant accomplishments can only be described as God's work. And I truly, truly appreciate the opportunity to be here and to discuss what we've done, what CJ's done, and how his memory has been able to help so many other people. So thank you so much for allowing me to do that.
Thank you so much, Patti. And that I think before I dive into a couple of questions I have for you, I can tell that even though it's been, gosh, what, 8 years now since CJ's passed, every time you talk about his story, I can still see, just how much you cared about him and the things that he's, been able to do even since his passing, of inspiration and things that you're doing now today in memory of him. I can see that passion in your words and what you're saying. And it kind of brought me back to, a little bit about my own story, and I'm not going to dive into it, but just how, family members are so affected by addiction. And there's times where I think back to my mom, who could very well be sitting in the same position as you, and sharing about memories of myself, and it just got me thinking and emotional on the inside as well, that she's fortunate to still have me today, and I was able to find that path, and I can relate so much on just how much addiction consumes somebody. So I thank you so much for sharing that, for being open, and with us here, even though you may not know some of us. It's truly inspirational for me to hear that and see that from you. So thank you so much in sharing those words. Before I dive into a couple questions I have, I would just like to open it up first for maybe some comments or questions on the things that Patti has shared today with us, that you may have. I know that there was one comment just from a Sandy Schultz asking that she'd be interested in attending the Zoom meetings. So she did send, or she did put her email in the chat there, Patti, which I can get to you afterwards if you're
Okay,
send her that
perfect.
meeting link. So she said she'd be interested, but I just want to open it up. For others here that may want to share. It looks like we have somebody that's raised their hand. So feel free to unmute yourself. I don't think you have a name, but it says Galaxy S9. Feel free to unmute yourself and share what you have.
Hi there. Hi, Patti. It's me, Nancy Alberti. And
Oh, hi, Nancy.
I'm going to get emotional, but I just want to say that you were the light at the end of a very dark tunnel for me when I met you, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago. Having my oldest in active addiction. I remember crying all day the day I knew I was going to come and meet you at your house. Because I finally had someone who understood and who I could talk to. My heart hurts for those of you that have lost your child to this horrific disease. But I really want to stress that you gave me hope. You helped educate me on, this craziness that was going on in my life that I was hiding from everyone. And you gave me the strength to deal with day-to-day living. I am so grateful that our paths crossed. I am so grateful that you are still working in this, educating and mainly helping those parents, because I was one of those parents, and I'm thanking the Lord every day for saving my son, who he'll be 6 years in recovery in January. He is a totally different child that I knew growing up, being, 28 when he finally got into recovery via drug court. The other thing, like you said, we're so terrified of our child getting into the legal system.
Yep.
But for me, the day I finally had the courage to ask him to leave my house, I know the West Dallas Police Department saved his life that day. And I'm grateful to them, even though the road was long and horrific, and those scars, will be with my family probably, forever. But I have a son that is amazing. I really believe that Jesus saved his life, and he is doing amazing things now. So Patti, I just wanted to hop on and really thank you and Charlie personally.
Oh, thank you, Nancy. That means a lot. Thank you so much. I do remember when you guys showed up the first time, and that's what I mean when we see the look of terror on family members' faces, and just how blessed we are that we can give them those two. I wish I could give them more than 2 hours every other week, but mentally, I don't think I could do it, to be honest with you. But I'm just grateful that we're able to do it, and we'll just keep doing it as long as I have the, I don't know what, the mentality to do it, because it's draining. I would have thought that after 8.5 years, I'd be able to talk about them, but I'm kind of a sap anyway, so I may not ever be able to talk about them without crying. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Patti, and thank you for giving a big hug for me too.
I will. Thanks.
All right, dear. Thanks.
And Patti, I guess to go along that, I have a question just in regards to, for somebody that's in recovery, self-care, self-reflection is so important. as a person that has been affected, an affected family member, a friend, and even you, even sharing some, over the past 8 years, how have you been able to address making sure that you take care of yourself during, especially these times and in times that it can get tough, thinking about, the passing of CJ, and even like you said, every other week, sometimes it can get pretty draining and, emotionally, at some of your support groups. What are some of the things that you do and you reflect on to make sure that you are staying well?
I think for me, the greatest gift, I think, is, well, first of all, I have such a huge faith. So I truly know in my heart that CJ's in a better place. I know he's not suffering anymore. He's not carrying that around with him. There's no more shame and guilt. He's at peace. The other thing is, I find it almost impossible not to feel good when I'm helping other people. So as long as I can continue to be effective in this and know that I am truly helping people, it's like when you lose somebody, like I said before, you like lose a part of you, like there's this hole in my heart. And when I help other people and I know that I'm effective at it, that just kind of fills that heart, that hole in my heart a little bit. So I do that. And I'm also very grateful that I'm able to know myself well enough that if things are getting to a point where I need to take care of myself, that I can step back. I have over 8 years learned that I have to say no once in a while. And even if I truly have to lie about it, and say I can't do it for whatever reason, I know myself well enough that I will back off and just reflect and take some time. And we have a grandson now that Christopher and Katie blessed us with. So actually, I'm here right now. We watch him every Friday. So that has been a huge joy in both Charlie and I's life. So when we feel sad, we go to Owen.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. I did see, is it Joanie, or did you get off mute? Were you wanting to say something?
Hi. I wanted, first of all, just to say thank you, Patti, for all that you do. I know that I refer a lot of people to your Facebook page, your web, talk to them about your groups. I know that sometimes, even though that they don't come to stuff, just seeing some of your posts can be so inspirational.
Oh,
And
thank you.
I know that sometimes I just look and it's like, oh, I feel better just reading some of your stuff. And
Well, thank you for everything you do. This is Joni's in charge of the West Dallas West Milwaukee Heroin Task Force. That's not what it's called anymore, though, is it? It's called something else now. She does a tremendous amount of work.
Thank you. But we do appreciate all that you do, Patti, and that you share. And I've heard you talk about CJ for so many years, and every time you say something, I pick out something different.
Oh,
and I know that it
you.
helps me in a different way every time, and I know that it helps a lot of people.
Thanks,
So
Joanie.
Thank you.
And does anybody else have any questions for Patti or comments?
I do, Wes. Hey, Patti.
Hey, John, how are you?
I'm well. Love you and Charlie.
You too.
To piggyback what Joanie had just said about learning new things, talking to you or hearing you speak more often, I don't think I've ever heard you talk about the things that you and Charlie wouldn't do for CJ anymore. And I think, for those of us that have been or are still in the, the recovery world or helping individuals when they come to us, it's the tough love part is the toughest part for families with an active addict to understand and accept because of the ultimate potential consequence. But hearing you talk about things that we wouldn't have helped him with his legal battles, we wouldn't have helped with this, we wouldn't have helped, it's really powerful. And I know, I'm glad you shared that, because I know as I move forward and speak to people, I'll be able to say, hey, listen, here's a mom and a dad who, if they had it to do over again, wouldn't, because I myself am guilty of enabling, I have a brother in addiction, and I enabled him more than anyone else, and people I don't even know, don't know well. So it was just really good to hear that. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Reinforces that, sometimes you do have to say no, and it's a tough pill to swallow. And that's why I try to refer families to you and Charlie also, just because of your experience. And, I'm so grateful. I'm not grateful addiction has touched all of our lives, but I'm grateful to have become friends with you and Charlie. You guys are amazing, and you just continue to do amazing work, and thank God you're here. So
Well, thanks.
Stick around.
Thank you. And that is also one of the things which sounds kind of bizarre when your son dies, that you're so grateful that all of these people that we have been involved with, that we've actually become friends with over the last 8.5 years, would not have been in our lives had he still been here. So God truly did have a plan. Not that I liked it. I've always said, I don't have to like it, but I have to trust in it. I have to trust in his plan. And I keep saying that when I get up there, him and I are going to have a talk, because I have a lot of questions for him. So, but thanks,
True.
John. Thank you. And
You bet.
it is tough to become that person that is going to say no. It's tough to get to a point where you say enough is enough. It was so hard for Charlie to stand at our front door and have CJ at the other side of it and say, you can't come in here anymore. You've got to figure this out. You can't come in here anymore. And thank God that he did give us the gift of 6 months of recovery before he passed, because we do say that was the last gift that he gave us. We felt as though, and I'm sure Nancy feels this every single day, we had our son back. That's truly the last gift that he gave us, because he was doing absolutely amazing. And what happened that Sunday night, only God knows. But I do know that, knowing what I know now, he did his 30 days at Nova. He committed to 90 days in sober living. And now, mind you, 9-10 years ago, there weren't the resources that there are now. So there was like one sober living house around for him to go to, which was horrible. And then he wanted to come home, and we had told him that he had to talk to Christopher, his brother, about it, because this had just, turned his life upside down as well. And we finally recognized that. That's another issue that happens in families, is that the siblings get so left behind, that you are so engrossed in trying to save the child that has problems, that you just totally forget about the other children. But anyway, that could be a whole nother hour discussion. But what I wouldn't have ever done now is I would never have allowed him to come back home. Not because I didn't want him there, but because I now know about all the triggers that I never knew about, that I never thought about. The bathroom that he used in, his bedroom that he used in. Our lower level was, like a, pool table in it. So all that's where he died, that he used in, never ever thought about that, but we would have probably made other arrangements. So I think us parents navigating through that is a progression, just like our children's drug use is a progression. And we make that very known to the parents too. And I think that's why we have parents that keep coming back, even though their children are in recovery, because they know that it's an everyday thing. They know that their lives could be turned upside down tomorrow, and they need to continue to take care of themselves, just as we expect our children to take care of themselves in recovery. So there are a lot of things that I know now that I would have definitely changed.
Yeah, and thank you for that, Patti. I think we have time for one more question here that I just wanted to address that was in the chat. And feel free to share on this, whatever knowledge that you have. But from Sandy Schultz, she said, my son has schizoaffective disorder and is on SSDI. Can you recommend a treatment facility for him and recommend some ways to encourage him to go into treatment?
The encouraging part is really tough. And I think that's the biggest obstacle that we have as parents. Obviously, we know that the 3 C's, they call it, we didn't cause it, we can't control it, we can't cure it. We can give them everything they want. We can give them every treatment facility, every resource out there. The thing that we can't give them is the willingness to want to get and stay clean. The only thing we can do is to make them accountable for their actions, hope that they feel the consequences of their using, that will bring them to a point where they know that it's time to get help. And that's the tough part. I think that in his situation, I would think, and I'm not a doctor, obviously, by any means, that he would need someplace with dual diagnosis.
That makes sense. Yeah. He's been to a few treatments before. Also, I have a younger son who is recovering from a heroin addiction. So I just really, God bless you for all you do, because
Oh, thank you.
really
Thank
hard.
you.
I know it's really hard.
And I hope things work out for you. I would, I do know that Rosecrans, but they're in Illinois, they're dual diagnoses. I think Rogers is, I'm not positive, maybe somebody else can answer me about that, but I'm pretty sure Rogers is dual diagnosis.
I'm just wondering, because he's on SSDI, he does have a caseworker, but he doesn't want me to talk to the caseworker. He's now living in Waukesha, and we had to ask him to leave our house. And so now I'm not as, I used to talk to the caseworkers all the time, but now he doesn't want me to. So now it's hard to deal with it, the whole
It
situation.
is, yeah, and my heart goes out to you, and there's no, I mean, like I said before, there's no roadmap. Everybody's journey is going to be a little bit different, but I mean, feel free to join our meetings. I think you'd get a lot out of it. There's a lot of resources. There's a lot of parents that are in the same situation. I think the biggest thing is, you're not alone. You're not alone in dealing with this, and no family member or parent should ever feel that they're alone in this, that there's no help, because there is a lot of help out there.
Mhm. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Patti. And I know that this time usually goes pretty quick, so I appreciate your time sticking around
does.
longer, Patti, and for those that tuned in today. But yes, I just want to thank you again, Patti, for joining us, and a lot of great comments today and great questions from those that joined as well. So again,
Well, thank you so much for having me. Thank you
Yeah,
very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and we do appreciate the work that you have been doing, Patti, and I know so many people in the state have also appreciated the work that you continue to do. So again, thank you from our team here. And for those that are on this live today, where can they get some of your information if they have additional questions, Patti?
So our website is www.cjlomasrecoveryfoundation.org. And our email address is the same, www.cjlomasrecoveryfoundation@aol.com. And if anybody, just emails me with their email address, I will add their email address to our Zoom invites every 2 weeks.
Great. Well, thank you, Patti. And I hope everybody stays well. It's Friday, so hopefully, I know it's going to be a little chilly this weekend, but hopefully you guys enjoy some outdoor activities, and you guys take care of yourselves and be safe out there.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patti. Love you.
Thank you. Love you too. Bye-bye. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.